Well, I need to unload this now. This is a truck I bought for parts. It's I don't even know what year this truck is, 03 or something. It's got a LS and a 4L60E transmission, 2-wheel drive. It's pretty crusty. Bed's junk. Yeah, it's just pretty crusty. Got a couple good tires in the back. Might be able to recover a little bit of money out of those. The front ones are junk. Obviously not going to hold air. And good bumper and grill and maybe a hood. I don't know. I might be able to get some money back out of parts. I don't know. Hard to say. Just hard to say. But let's get it off of here. Yeah, I should have mentioned it has no brakes and no power steering. So I'm gonna use the Gradle to unload it. Alright. Doesn't have a battery, so I need to rob a battery from something else. Of course, it's a GM, so it's got these goofy side terminals. We don't have a lot of them laying around. And then, you know, the little 5/16, 8mm studs are always rounded off. Great idea. Let me get this thing in here and see if I can get it started. I love these little things. I had a pair of these before and I gave them away. And I'd keep forgetting I wanted to order another pair. They're just so handy. These are the Nipex 5-inch water pump pliers. Look how wide they open up. You do a lot of work with them. And they're pocket size, which is what I really like. There we go. Alright, so the fuel pump was bad when Justin got it. So it was kind of an old crusty turd, and he was just looking to see it run, not fix the truck. So he just cut that out, and the wire's bad somewhere in that mess. So we just kind of did a hot wire deal here. So there we go. Now we'll see if she'll fire up. I hear the fuel pump running. Be nice if the gauges worked, but what would a Chevy motor be without an exhaust manifold leak or two? However, it runs pretty good. It's drive-by-wire, and it's 2-wheel drive with a 4L60E transmission. Might need a water pump. Got a case of a wobble. Anyways, I'm gonna get the scanner on it so that we can look at things like oil pressure, temperature, that kind of stuff, because the cluster kind of comes and goes, I think is what he said. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Seems like a pretty typical thing around here lately. Feels like a little miss. We don't have any brakes. Oh, we got front brakes maybe, or back. No, we got front. Okay, well, that ain't so bad. Let me get a scanner on it. See if I can turn that wheel. No power steering. I don't see. I find it interesting. I really would have assumed we'd have an oil pressure reading in here, but maybe it's somewhere I'm not seeing it. An oil level. Malfunction indicator light on. Huh. Well, I'm gonna dig through and see if it's somewhere. I can't imagine it would be anywhere else. Coolant 195. Intake air. Spark advance. Okay, well, there's no oil pressure in there. So I'm probably gonna have to get an oil pressure reading off of the block somewhere. Keep it on the coolant 195 because I want to make sure it doesn't have any issues overheating. I guess I should talk about what I want this truck for. It's for parts. I just bought it because I want the motor and possibly transmission. We're going to put this engine in that Squarebody, but I want the coolant drop to 190. Thermostat must have opened. I just want to make sure it's going to be okay before I go and pull it out, because we're going to part out the rest of this truck because I don't want it. But I want to make sure that the engine is going to be suitable to my intentions. Looks like that's on there crooked. You can almost hear that water pump. Whoop, 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 whoop. Or something. I don't know. We're going to tear this thing apart. I wonder if I would just do this today. Feels like a good day to tear it apart. Just found that laying right down in here. Dowel pin. Looks like maybe the timing cover. Something. I don't know. Took the belt off and look how quiet it is. That thumping noise is gone. I can feel it clunking. So much worse in person than it does camera, but regardless, I think it's good enough to move forward with, so let's move forward. The body has very little value to me, so I'm just going to take the body off the truck and then work on the motor, just like I've done on many different vehicles. Not as much to take apart as you might think. The AC is completely drained because there's a hole in it somewhere, so that's not an issue. The cooling system, I'll see if I can't just leave that in, push the radiator up, get the body mounts. This will be a new experience for me because I'm just not a GM guy. But anyways, let's see what we can do. I'd like to get this motor out of here today. We're going to pull motor and transmission. That's what I'm going to be mostly focusing on this. I'm not sure I'm using the transmission, but I want to get it out of there.
So we're not too used to taking the Chevy cabs off. It's usually Fords, and we can get that done in, I think, an hour and a half. But he knows where all the, bolts and stuff are, and wires and stuff. This one's a little different. What about this? Does that stay with the motor? Or no, it's unhooked. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was unhooked or not.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Pretty well. Do you know where he's going to set it? I don't either.
On the bed.
That would work.
Alright, so that's how I like to do things. Pull the cab off, get it out of the way, and I can stand here and look at what we're working with. You know, it's a little bit easier. I don't like laying underneath this rusty crap and all this stuff fall on my face and in my eyes and all that. And yeah, I know safety glasses will help, but it's not going to stop it all the time. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and drain the cooling system now, because now I can move the radiator about anywhere I want and drain it and not make a mess. I have to decide if we're going to use this transmission or not. I like the idea of having this motor with the 4L60 transmission. I'd like to use this just because it shifts well. It would get incredible fuel mileage in that truck. I'll be building my own harness using this one, and I'll take off the stuff that I don't need. Truck doesn't have air conditioning, so we won't be using the air conditioning or the bracket, the belt, the tensioner, all that'll come off. I got some broken exhaust manifold bolts to tend with. There's one over there and one over here, and I'd like to replace all that hardware at the same time.
Power steering pump is no good, so we're gonna have to change it out. So
Yeah, so you gotta take the pulley off first so that you can get to the bolts that hold it to the bracket. I think it's the reservoir that's bad on this. That's so hard to tell what it is, which one's leaking. Could be both. Could be the line, or it could be the power steering pump itself. So I'll probably just get the whole unit. Alright, we're gonna take that out next. Well, there's the source of the coolant leak. Leaked on that side too, and that side. Starter, and then pull forward so the drive shaft comes out.
okay. Okay, the exhaust was just barely hanging together still, so.
Alright, so I've stripped off a lot of the stuff, covered up the intake, plugged up my transmission lines and stuff like this. I've got the ECM and the fuse box in this trash bag and wire tied it so that it doesn't get wet, but I want to pressure wash this all, clean it up the best I can. Alright, so the engine's all cleaned up and it's dry. I've got it suspended by the gradle. The next step is I'm not going to be using this entire exhaust the way it is. We're going to cut the converters off, sell them, hopefully regain some of our money from the purchase of the truck through that. We're going to keep this section because I'm going to use at least one set of O2 sensors. I'm not sure we'll be able to use this exhaust pipe or not, but you know, we'll see. We're not going to use this transmission, so the wiring needs to come loose and the transmission needs to come off. We're going to use the Turbo 400. The 4L60E uses these two bolts, the dowel pin, this one and this one, and then nothing here because I think that goes into an oil galley. This bolt and this bolt. So we're going to be taking that off. Now I'm told you can use the 4L60E flywheel with the 400 transmission if you buy the adapter to basically center the torque converter, because the nub in the center of the torque converter doesn't stick out far enough, and I don't want to use that, so I have purchased the 4L80E flywheel, which is heavier, and it comes with the crankshaft adapter that moves the flywheel out where it needs to be. When we go to put our old 400 on here, we won't be able to use this bolt, won't be able to use that bolt. So we'll use 2 on this side, 3 on that side. That's what we'll get. So we're going to take this off, and we're not going to be using the exhaust. We're going to take it off as well, and I'll take the starter out, or however we get access to the torque converter nuts. So we got to get them out too. So there was 3 broken.
Three broken ones?
Yeah, this is the only one we had to weld a nut on too. So I just took my carbide tool, cleaned the end of it up where it was all rusty, and then I just welded that nut on. Got it off. Less difficult than I thought. So you think we ought to pull the valve covers and clean them? See what it looks like?
Yeah, you can if you want to. It's always surprises.
What's that mean? Don't do it so you don't know?
Almost.
Ignorance is bliss.
But you don't know it'll hurt.
Sometimes it does, though. Later on.
Yeah.
When he has to
give it to him in later and be like, oh,
yeah,
dude.
when he has to take it back out.
Yeah, when I gotta take it back out.
Well,
Fingers crossed. Let's hope.
nice, crispy, and clean.
Let's hope she ain't all crusted up.
Oh,
Oh,
look at that.
that's a daisy right there. That is a daisy.
Well, that's good.
I mean, we probably ought to actually look at the stuff.
And
for a
normally this
second.
side's always darker because of the PCV valve.
A little bit of water is probably for me pressure washing. Yeah, I'm alright with that. Holy crap. I just want to make sure there's no broken springs or anything weird. It ran okay. I had good compression, good temperature. Yeah, I think I'm alright with that. We'll check the other side. There's little needle bearings in these rockers, ain't there?
Yep. These needle bearings work themselves out. These caps. They make a kit that goes to solid brass.
Boy, look how little that is. We're just not used to this little stuff. I got blue towel around here somewhere.
Right there.
I can reuse this gasket, right? I don't see any reason not to.
All these gaskets on this are pretty much reusable.
I'll just wipe this down and put it back together. And we'll check the other side. That's pretty clean. So we'll look for any of them caps and the needle bearings coming out. Man, that's clean. Pretty happy with that, ain't you?
Hey, can't ask for nothing better than that.
Yeah. Alright. Close her back up, man. I don't see anything needing attention there. It's funny how these are like the old Vortec heads. 4 bolts in the middle. Hang on, there'll be guys out there.
You got the clicking.
Yeah, they give me grief about torque specs. Alright, so all the LS swap guys already know about the flywheel. And I'm not an LS swap guy, so, you know, this is all new to me, but the way I understood it was, this flywheel is dished, so it hits the back of the crank, and then because it's dished like this, it pushes the ring gear out. This is for 4L60E transmission. The 4L80E transmission flywheel uses this one, that it's flat plate with the spacer built in instead of being dished. It uses a flat plate to move it out, and the bolt circle is larger on the 4L80 torque converter than it is on the 4L60. So if you match them up, you see how the holes don't quite line up. Find it. There you go. So you have to elongate the holes to make them work, because they don't exactly fit. So I chose just go this route instead of grinding on the flywheel. I was just thinking I'd never even considered a rear main seal, but it's dry, and Justin says they like never go bad, so I guess we'll just move on. So, I wonder if I need to clean that up a little bit. Put some blaster on that right quick, clean it. Maybe the blaster. Okay, there's the first one torqued. Second one. Third. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. So we're good. Okay, now we can put the little motor mount side plates on. Alright, there's the first one. Where's your plate at? You ready? I hope I don't regret Loctiting these. Nothing a little heat can't fix, huh?
Mm-hmm.
See if I got this set to the proper torque spec. Oh yeah.
All right, we got it all hooked up good. You have the light right there? Okay. The light right there.
We need to check with that. We may have to move these mounts.
You think?
We need to check with the cross member underneath and see what a transmission mount is. I think these mounts are too far forward.
Okay. Well, that'll be a stinker.
I mean, they're easy to come off.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna bring the tail up some more, and then bring it down. I want to level this out before we decide. I want to get it more level and back.
Yeah, so I'm watching.
All right, so we need to go back, but we're hitting the transmission right now. The tunnel.
Yeah.
Transmission's hitting, so I can't go back anymore. How much room do we have? We have about enough room.
6 inches.
We have enough room to hit that.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's what we want.
Well, what if, can we get something underneath the tail end? Drop this down where it's just sitting on the mounts, and then move this chain. This chain's what's stopping us.
We can
move the chain somewhere up under, or we just get rid of that chain, use this chain, and get something underneath like a jack, floor jack.
Well, I can set this down and just slide these forward.
That's what I was gonna say. If you could slide, just unloosen those, slide it forward, and re-clamp it, it'd still be hooked down there. But
yeah,
I didn't know if it's gonna try to pull the engine back forward.
No, it's sitting on that cross member there, so it'll sit on the cross member here. I'll set this down. We'll reset our chains. All right, so we got rain coming, so we decided to bring it inside instead of having to find a way to cover everything up, even though we've stuffed towels in the spark plug holes and tape over the exhaust and all that. But it looks pretty good. It's in there nicely. It looks good. And Justin helped all day. Say hi, Justin.
Hello.
Hi, Justin. And we got, what are them rolls you made, lady? What'd you make us?
Copycat Texas Roadhouse rolls.
And what's that?
Cinnamon honey butter.
Oh yeah, that was good. So it's sitting in here, and it looks like it's sitting way back. But man, there's so much room behind it, between it and the firewall. There's plenty of room. And I want to run, if possible, I'd like to run the clutch fan, and you know, just a regular mechanical fan. I don't want to run electric if I don't have to. I've got a new water pump, and I have to get a new reservoir and power steering pump, because one or the other is leaking, and I see there's a leak in that fitting right there on that power steering hose. We thought it looked like the transmission mount was going to work, but it's not wide enough. The one on the 4L60E, the spread bolt pattern on the back where it bolts to the transmission is narrower than the 400, so I won't be able to use that. I thought it was going to be off 1 inch, but the stud in the transmission mount is offset 1 inch to the bolt hole, so you could flip the transmission mount forward or back and give you an inch forward or an inch behind, so you can kind of fudge it. What would that be, inch or 2 inches, whatever. But man, look at all that room. Look at how big the engine bay looks. I mean, granted, there's a lot of stuff to go on it yet, but lots and lots of room. I think the stock exhaust manifolds are going to work fine. We got all the broken bolts out. Only had to use the MIG welder and a nut on one. So next, we're going to get the transmission mount. We'll get the rear drive shaft in. We'll do the transmission shifter, because that's all factory stuff. I don't know if the transmission inspection cover is going to fit.
It should.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna fit proper to the LS engine, but that's okay. So then we'll start with the exhaust. I'm gonna try and get all the bottom side stuff done, and then get the accessories on. There really won't be any accessories on this side at all, except for a tensioner, because we're not running AC. I don't know how they would run AC down there. That's pretty tight. I think you'd had to shove that motor forward a good bit to run AC to get that clamshell mount back farther. And the engine mounts they come from Summit Racing. They're their brand. And if you do this, you may need to watch the length of them bolts, because I had to cut 2 of them. Yeah, 2 of them were too long, and they bottomed out on the block, so they wouldn't tighten the clamshell, but we got that now. I have just temporary bolts in the engine mounts right now because they're not the right ones, so we're gonna go get some new ones, but it's looking pretty good. That's pretty good for a day. It's had more progress today than it has in 6 months, something like that. And Justin's been here all day hanging out, helping us, so thanks to Justin, giving us all his LS tips and tricks. But the transmission fit up so nice. That flywheel works perfect. No problems whatsoever. We had to bend the dipstick tube. All right, so the dipstick tube come up and hit the back of the block. So where the mounting flange attached to the block, it used to be just a bolt hole. So I took a die grinder cutting wheel and just cut it so it's a slot, so I could slide it down in there. And then I just bent it a little bit away from the head so it would come back this way, and then I just rolled it back over this way, and it seems to work okay. So that's where we're at. So stick around. Next part, we get some more stuff done. I'm gonna order some parts tonight. So, but man, that's pretty cheap. $34 for the plates through Summit Racing, $50-something for that flywheel, and she's in there. That's all there was. I did break 2 spark plugs. I knew I would. I was going to take them all out. I'm like, no, I don't want to get something in the cylinders and have to take the heads off. But anyways, she's coming along. Hope you enjoy. Catch you on the next one.